So I did something, Nick. First of all, you've been working really hard. I know
Too
because you
much.
keep whining about it.
I keep
And
bitching
then
about
I've been working really hard, which you might have noticed because I'm actually doing things.
it. I know you've been putting stuff out.
It's a little crazy, but I have identified what I think are the top 5 things that have to evolve, have to change,
Yeah.
or the concept of digital services and maybe even professional services, definitely digital and creative, to be
Yeah.
relevant going forward.
Yeah. I would love to dig into them. I'm
I want
curious.
to. I want you to guess them.
I think you told me one.
I did because I knew you needed a little bit of help.
I need a little help. We're talking about 5 years out. We did a survey on this recently.
Hmm.
So I have a little bit of data, and I'm wondering if you picked up on the data. Did you read the report, Carl?
Yes,
Mm, maybe not.
I did. And I'm voracious right now, man. I'm insatiable, Nicholas.
You're reading everything. Well, so combining that with what you're thinking, I think we have enough for some episodes. I think we
I
do
think
some
we do
interesting
too.
stuff.
So let's hit them. Let's hit them off the top. All right.
Yeah. And what's your first one? What's the number one thing that has to shift or is shifting?
I think that it's funny because I think they're all kind of in a dead heat right now.
Oh, they're all number one. Shit.
Well, I think they're so interrelated,
You can't do
but
one without another.
I don't think so. I think what I'm going to start with is this idea of earning trust at scale. I think we have to learn how to, because
Yeah.
selling projects is not going to be a winning formula anymore.
Interesting.
If you're going to get somebody to engage with you in a long-term relationship, which, and let's face facts, I've been against most of my career, the idea of long-term relationship.
Relationship.
Yeah, don't do that. I see what you're doing. You've lasted longer than most hosts. Let me tell you
you
that.
want to end some of them?
No, but the reason was because normally long-term relationships, when you came out of advertising agencies, they
Yeah.
protected the relationship over the quality of the work or the effectiveness of the work. At
Mm,
least in the South, the relationship was more important. Up north, I think the quality of the work was more important, and they were a little bit more ruthless. We
interesting.
protected the relationship.
Yeah.
And it was at the detriment of the work of the product. So when digital agencies or web shops in the day spun out, we wanted to be project based. We wanted to do the best we could for the project and get the hell out. We did not want to try to hold on to a relationship. We don't want to do that. And I think that's still true. I think
Yep.
it moves from kissing ass to kicking ass. I think that's the big shift. I am full of praises here because
This is
I've been.
fantastic.
So when we think about this, and I don't want to have a full episode right now, I just want to hit on the high note, but
Right. Right.
I think where we're going, which is going to be more clients and shops are accountability partners in a way. I don't think we can do that constantly reloading with different clients. I think we're going to have to establish trust and then we have to scale it because we're going to have to help throughout an organization to really make a difference for them and for us. So that's one of the 5.
Wow. Interesting. Does that get into the kind of stuff that the larger management consultancies and strategy consultancies do? So like McKinsey, Bain, BCG getting into the marketing and digital game. That was big 5 years ago.
I
They
think
were
they
buying
I
up
think that's what
jobs.
they tried to do.
Yeah.
I don't think they can do it because of how they're structured, and that gets to the second one for me.
Okay.
Right. And we talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, but I think we're moving into an era of hyper specialization.
Yeah. Full on agree. But yeah.
And to be hyper specialized, you're not going to be a 500,000 person company.
Nope.
It's no longer about talent, it's about outcomes. It's not about a deliverable, it is truly about delivering. And I think that's where we're going to have to see this huge shift. And so I think shops get smaller.
Yes. I
I
agree with
think
that.
we get and some people had some great pushback on LinkedIn because I was saying I think 8. And I think for some instances,
Oh,
based
I
on
don't
what
know if
you
they get that small. That's
I
a
think
hot
it
take.
is. If you look at there's a lot written in this book called Creative Company. It's about an agency that was in London that was roughly 64 people, and they were going to get acquired by Chiat Day or some huge entity at the time. And the company that the employees said no. All 64 of the employees told leadership, no, we're not going. We're not going to do it. And they said, well, then you're out of work. And they said, actually, we'll just keep going on our own. We don't need you. So what they did was one of the people on this team studied sociology and went really deep and said, what's the ideal number of humans if we're working together, right? And you think back to us being pack animals, right? And we were persistence hunters. Like we knew how to work as a team. But even though a lot of the human packs were like in the 50 to 60 range in terms of the total numbers of a pack that would stay together, there were inner circles in that pack that were always like in the 8 to 12 range. So
Okay.
they end up breaking into 4 companies of 16 people each. And one of the things they said was, when you are part of a group that is 16 or fewer, you are part of a group. Okay. When you get to 20 or 25, now you go to a place, you engage with a company, you have a job, because
Yeah.
it's too many people to see yourself in it. So what you do is you see it as when you're 16 or fewer, you want to give. When you're 16 or more, you start to feel you're entitled to something. So you don't care as much. Now some humans do, some don't. These are broad generalizations. But I think we get down to 8 or 12. And I think that's part of being able to truly integrate in with what I'm calling, and I'm sure others are called, kind of a client economy instead of a service economy. Right now we sell services. That's not a long-term win. We need to be able to be a turbo pack that gets plugged in to a company's systems. And we need to improve those systems. I think that's really where we have to go.
Interesting.
You're not
I'm
used to seeing me try to act smart. I get it. It's
no,
confusing.
you're bringing up a lot of interesting points, and I'm curious about unpacking that, because the natural thing that I've seen from leadership teams in this industry is an interest in growth over the last, I don't know, decade of doing this. My whole business was built on consulting, like doing research to be a better growth consultant and
Right.
show them how to grow, because that's what the demand was. Yeah, profitability was in there too, but it was
Right.
really about getting bigger. So it's interesting, because I think that there's a shift in, and we might get into this too, in pricing and in how, what the rev per FTE looks like, being able to keep that high or grow that with a
Right.
shrinking FTE base and higher pricing, and the advent of consultants, or not consultants, but contractors, and growing that out that way. There's a lot of moving pieces to that. And if you do say, hey, the ideal size is 8 to 12, is there an advantage in 5 years of being a 24 person shop, or of being a 60 person shop? Like,
think it's a detriment.
well, that's what I'm that's what I'm curious to unpack.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
I
yeah.
like I don't want to like dive into it super deep today, but those are the kind of questions that I have, where it's like, okay, well, if you move this chess piece here and it shrinks an agency size, does somebody else move a chess piece there that grows an agency size and does better?
I think in the future we end up engaging with clients, right? Who I
Mhm.
really think will finally be able to say partners. You know, right next to our Venn diagram, Venn diagram, that would be nicer than a Venn, wouldn't it? A Venn diagram. Oh, but right next to our Venn diagram, we say we don't have clients, we have partners. It's all marketing shit, right?
Well, yeah, most
Because
of
a
it.
client's not a partner unless a client wants to be a partner. And let's face facts, most of us don't want clients to be partners.
Oh, no,
We don't
God,
like
no.
them. And to your point, the reason we don't like them, we don't trust them, I think is because of how we value what it is we're doing. I think the way that we've priced things,
Yeah.
right? If it's time and materials, the client is on notice to keep an eye on us.
Yes. And they don't
If it's
trust it.
fixed bid, we are on notice to keep an eye on the client and the scope.
Yep.
If it's value based, everybody's on notice or nobody's on notice,
The
right?
finance team at the client is on notice. The
Yeah.
procurement team
Well,
is on notice.
and it's another one that I think, you know, we've said for a while on a lot of different topics. It depends. We use the word hybrid all the time.
Mhm.
You know why? Because the individual things aren't working. So maybe it's not hybrid. Maybe it is the way it works. You know. And so when I think about it, time and materials was great for removing any kind of risk really from the shop.
Yeah.
Because
Essentially.
you just charge more, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I get that. But the thing that time and materials also did was, to me, it showed a level of transparency. And I think that level of transparency has to stay. Again, I'm starting to have the episode before we have the episode. But then when you get to the idea of fixed bid, then that helps the client have clarity.
Yeah, they get budgetary.
One is transparency, another is clarity. They're related, they're not the same. And then value-based, I think it may actually be the closest to what I'm calling accountability pricing.
Okay.
Value-based, you are agreeing to what the end game is. You are talking about the goal of where you want to go. Time and materials, the goals are always moving. Value-based, the goals are always moving. You never know, really, right? And you have new ideas and you have all this stuff during the project that you fight against if you're in fixed,
right.
And you encourage if you're time and materials, right? Yeah. Every change is new business.
Mm-hmm.
But is that good for the client?
I mean, maybe, but probably not.
No. So getting to a place where you have set KPIs for the project, for the relationship, really, because I think the project starts to go away. And the KPI is, we need to increase visibility into this service that we offer. And then we say, okay, how are we going to measure that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then payment is based on actual results. And clients have accountability too. If they don't deliver what they say they're going to deliver, that doesn't mean that the shop they engaged is going to suffer. That means they have to pony up, if it is money or if it is time or if it is something. But this is no longer, and the only way that partnerships are partnerships is when both have skin in the game.
Yeah, the logistics of that, though, sound like a nightmare.
That's the problem. But here's the thing. The logistics of that sound like a problem now.
Yeah.
Think about me writing the content for a website, having it designed, maybe spinning up an app, and doing all of that in 2 days by myself. 5 years ago, what would you have said?
Yeah, no way in hell.
And what do you say today?
It's going to be a fine first draft.
Right. But
because I've seen the AI output.
how much further ahead is that than where we were 5 years ago, where we didn't even talk about it?
No, I totally agree.
5 years from now, if there's one thing, and not necessarily the language models, but some of the other ones that are working on math and stuff, like there's no reason why that dashboard can't update those KPIs.
Yeah.
I think the technology has never been there for us to be able to truly have partnerships on a bigger accountability kind of relationship.
Okay. So the logistics are mostly handled by tech advancements that make it not an issue, or make it less of an issue.
Less of an issue. Yeah. I mean, and I think that's why you can't just start today.
Yeah, you got to build into this.
Things you can start today, right? Which is focusing on establishing real trust. Focus on relationships, and not relationships that are kissing ass. That's not what I mean. I mean relationships where you're invested in true progress for the client that benefits the agency. And then I think the other part, and this is kind of happening already, is these smaller 8 to 12 person shops. They come together, right? When there's a project that needs the expertise of content and the expertise of design and the expertise of development, those will come together.
Yeah, you were already seeing that. I think you're right. I think that's one of those things that, like, yeah, you'll have the contractor augmentation with that. You have that kind of amalgamation of smaller shops, and maybe it's not like a formalized thing. It doesn't necessarily need to be like, this is a strategic partnership and here's the contract, all that. But you can work together more fluidly.
I think that's one of the biggest things we do ourselves a disservice, is when we bring in somebody else to work with us. We either hide that from the end client.
Yes.
White labeling.
Yes.
And no disrespect to people who are out there white labeling. Like, they're filling a gap. They're filling a need. And they're doing it within the confines of the way we've interacted as humans. Whereas when we had Engine, and we would bring somebody else in, I would tell the client or the prospect, we're going to bring in an expert in this field or this information. Right. And we called it, and I'm sorry, Dan, but we call it the Super Friends model, right? He opens Super Friendly, totally different. But the Super Friends, we were just like, we have people who are super at certain things and they are
Mhm.
friends. So we're going to bring them in to help. And we want a lot of work that way.
Yeah.
You know, like if we were going after something that was going to be around some level of fundraising,
Mm-hmm.
we would call Dan Rubin. Rubin had been involved in a lot of these amazing case studies for fundraising. And we would say, well, we've got the guy who helped CARE, you
Yeah.
know, and they'd be like, oh shit, really? And they don't know him. So
Yeah.
I think this becomes, again, the way that we move forward is about, it's not cult of personality, it's reputation of the team.
Well, it's that, and it's curation of these SMEs. As a agency leader or as an agency period, being able to curate a team that is truly a subject matter expert team outside of your agency, and being able to
Mhm.
bring them in on projects and confidently say, hey, this person or this small group, they really are good at this. Like I will vouch for them. We've seen their work. They really are who you
We'll
need
show you the
plugged into
metrics.
the project. We'll show you all of the receipts that you want to see. That type of model, and there's a hell of a lot of value in curation, especially the more people that can like throw a shingle up and say I'm a digital agency because I have the latest AI website builder. The more of that exists, the more noise you have to break through.
Right.
So being able to say, hey, this group is good, this group we won't work with, there is value in that because clients don't have time to sift through that.
I mean, you think about this hyper specialization, right? I was talking with an owner yesterday, and they are a very small surgical team
Yeah.
that goes in and does dev enhancements
Hmm.
in healthcare systems. So they go in, they take care of the problem, and they get out. Right?
It sounds nasty as hell. That
It,
industry.
it, it sounded
Whoa.
well, and the level of insurance needed, right?
Oh, insurance, compliance, all of the nonsense.
But because they're so dialed in
Yeah.
and it is what they do and who they've done it for, they don't get hired, they get requested.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's like, this is too important, we don't know how to do it. And one of the things he shared was, well, the internal team, if they go with them, it's going to take 6 to 9 months just to get a meeting.
69 months? No, 6 to 9 months.
And
Yeah.
so when you think about that, that internal team is on fire and they're probably under scrutiny because of budgets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And all,
Guaranteed they're understaffed.
and everything changes every 2 weeks in the way that we're 2 days in the way that people's trying to hack into a healthcare system, I'm sure. So that becomes part of why this works too. Or not even why it works, but why it's kind of the path that we have to get on.
Yeah. It's we've seen it going that way. We've seen like this march towards specialization for the first like 2015 to 2020. It was this slow kind of everybody's going there. 2020 hits, and all of a sudden, in the next 5 years, it takes off like a rocket ship. It's something like 80, what is it, 82, 83% now in those surveys are specialists in
Yeah.
something.
Well, they
And
think they are, or they want to be.
well, right. And that's the degree of specialization and the did they do it right? That's a whole other conversation. But the
True.
fact that 4/5 of the market are now saying, "Hey, we're on the specialization train."
Yeah.
It's no longer a like it's table stakes. So now you have to be good at specializing.
Yeah.
It's no longer just like, hey, I do WordPress builds. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Nobody. Everybody does WordPress builds. I do. I have Divi. I'll do a WordPress build. Like, come on.
I just did one. I'm about to do another one.
Yeah, right.
I do them over breakfast. Everybody's getting specialized, and now I'm saying that's not enough.
It's not. It's
You got to
not.
get hyper specialized, and and this gets to some of the stuff that David Baker, some of the other folks, talking about specialization was always the thing, or positioning, right? I think a lot of the things we've done that are marketing and positioning and all of this just have to become real. They have to be ingrained. I'm not saying that people are lying. I'm just saying that, we need to work on our positioning. No, your positioning is what you are.
There's the idea behind some of that was if you specialize, you can become better, more efficient, more effective at doing the thing than a generalist shop.
Yeah.
That idea didn't always translate to teams for a myriad of reasons. But I think what you're getting at is that idea has to crystallize and become reality. Like you have to, as a hyper specialist, now be really good. If you're doing WordPress builds and you say, I'm doing WordPress builds that target financial institutions in this size range because they can do better doing this, and WordPress is the right technology for it, whatever that whole thing is, that piece of we're the best ones to do this because we've done a million of these has to be real. That has to, like, you have to be more efficient. You have to be more effective. That has to crystallize.
And I think, and then I want us to wrap this because we're going to start having these episodes if we're not careful. I think in a lot of ways, when you start to look at shops, it'll be almost like looking at car and driver, right? It'll be more like shopping for an automobile. It's like, do I need
crash test ratings of a shop?
Well, yeah. And mileage and all this kind of stuff, because we're all going to be just a little bit different. I think there could still be holding companies. Like I think there could still be like a Barrel Holdings. I think there could still be kind of things, but it is smaller pods of companies, and those companies come together. I think a lot of the things we've always talked about in the past could actually happen in the future. We tried them again and again, but they never really worked. Not for everybody. So, and who knows where we're really going. But man, this feels like it would be a much better play.
It does. And there's so many paths to go down. And I love the idea of exploring some of those and walking down them and looking at it through the lens of this is what could happen. And this is probably the play if it does. Yeah. And that's probably valuable.
I mean, we know stuff's going to change. We're seeing it every day.
Yes.
So we just got to let go of whatever we thought our goal was and readjust. And, you know, I hate to be the person. I've always been the person who was like, yeah, I just try to get through the week. I don't look further ahead. Well, that's changed.
Can't do it anymore.
Hamilton, for the first time ever, I'm thinking past tomorrow.
Uh-oh, look out.
Look out, world. So anyway, Nick, I look forward to seeing you back here.
I'll be back.
For a little duel.
I'll be back. It'll be, I'm legit interested in diving into a lot of what you brought up today. I think there's some pieces, and I can't wait to challenge you on them. But I think you're going to bring up a lot of good stuff.
I need that right now. It's like somebody asked, how much is AI writing the stuff you're doing? I was like, no, what I'm doing is writing down what I think. I'm asking AI if I missed anything. I'm going back and I'm thinking through that. And then I have one chat GPT project that I've got set up that is just a nasty gram. And I basically just say, this is what I think, prove I'm wrong. And then I just back them. Yeah. And it's convinced me a few times that I was absolutely off on the wrong path. But so like, as I'm working through this, it's kind of I guess a litmus test is the way I'm using it, just to see. And sometimes it tells me I'm wrong, and I'm like, no, I am not. You're wrong.
AI.
Everybody's out of order. All right, sir. Bye, everybody. Oh, like, subscribe. Whatever. Do what you want. Nobody cares.
Who gives a shit?